What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Mind to Motions. Now, we've got a very special episode today where we're going to be breaking down a little bit of the conversation that I previously had with Leo. However, I'm also very excited to introduce and announce that I'm going to be having this lovely lady, Hali, on board to be a co-host on the show, which I think is going to bring a very interesting dynamic and another cool perspective to how things go. But before we get all into that, would you like to introduce yourself to?
Hi everyone. I'm Hali, as Theo's mentioned, and just very excited to be part of this project and be on here, you know, having these cool and very interesting conversations. I'm just looking forward to just like, you know, express and just like share some knowledge on here, and connect to people as well, of course, with some of the guests that we'll hopefully have on these calls as well. So I'm just really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you, because I mean, for the audience's knowledge, I've obviously had a chance to work with Hali before in the past. We've worked on a few different projects, community-led projects and things like that, but with this new venture, which I'm very passionate about, which is more focused towards, you know, the mental sides of things. So essentially, the platform is an exploration of the two sides of the mental health situation that we have currently going on in the world. So we have mental health and we have mental illness, and I want to very clearly distinguish the difference between the two, and that became very apparent on the episode when I was sitting down with Leo, in terms of, you know, her son dealing with autism and that being a mental illness, and specifically an illness, and how that kind of got conflated and got misconstrued with mental health awareness. And I think that's a lot to do with current times today, because it is a very serious issue that's affecting a lot of people. However, you know, mental illness is something that you're born with. You know, and in the episode she said you will die with. Things that you tend to have as mental illnesses they're born with you, and you're never going to get rid of them. So, you know, with that being said, I thought it was really pertinent to be able to bring a very sensitive focus towards the conversations, if that makes sense, in terms of paying attention and paying respect to who the individuals are, the conversations, and then bringing somebody like Hali on, who's got experience working with people like in the social settings, in different community organisation groups, and then we could kind of sit down and break down loads of different things to do with the differences, our personal points of view on things, and then also how we can think about creating some change that can help positively in the future. So how the structure of the channel is essentially going to go is that you're more likely to see me and Hali on episodes, and then probably I'd say 1 in every 3 or 4 episodes you're likely to probably see a featured guest that we've sought out, or somebody that actually has a serious story to share that's related to one of those two areas, whether that's mental health or mental illness. And then we can kind of just sit down as we are now and just kind of chop it up and, you know, talk a little bit more about some of the finer details that maybe got missed, and of course your perspective as well on things as well will be different to how I've interpreted it. So look forward to seeing both of our faces on just these conversations, and then to see some individuals, featured special guests, come on and share a little bit of their story, very much like Leo did. While I have the opportunity, I would like to say a big shout out to Leo, and a big thank you for her to come on, you know, the platform. You know, it's a very sensitive topic that she was talking about, very personal, and you know, I wanted to make sure that she felt comfortable, in terms of why I wanted to actually have the conversation with her. It wasn't just for, you know, putting it out into the atmosphere. It was more about to learn, and you know, I actually have family members that have suffered with autism and mental illnesses and things like that. So I definitely think it's important for where we come from in our community to promote that. So with that being said, this episode, we're basically gonna touch a little bit on that conversation with Leo, and also just talk a little bit about what the ongoing plans are for Mind to Motions and where we want to go. So start off, what was your initial thoughts on the conversation and stuff like that that I had with Leo?
Yeah, so first of all, like you've mentioned, Theo, like massive just thank you to Leo for coming on here with you and just talking about a matter that's so personal, not only so personal to her, but something that's known to be very difficult. It's taken us a long time, as just a community and society to be able to get to this point where we can actually even just sit here and have these conversations like we are right now. It's taken us a very long time. Not so long ago, just looking back in the 60s, 70s, that's not that long ago. Those things were such taboos.
Yes, exactly.
There were asylums, and people were treated as if they're
you deal with
crazy.
That? You're kind of crazy.
You're crazy. That's what you were seeing, right?
100%.
And it's just it's nice to see that people are having these open conversations now about these discussions and very taboo topics. Because it's still very, very much taboo. And Theo, you mentioned, especially within ethnic minorities. I know, coming from an African household, not until recently during the pandemic is when my parents officially got introduced to anxiety and the effects it has on that it's had on my sisters and I and stuff. I mean, it's not that they weren't feeling or haven't experienced it before, because I'm sure that they have, but it wasn't just something that was allowed for them to speak out openly and to express. So
it's more like you said, it's very much taboo. And then where we come from, you come from the African household, mine in the Caribbean, very much the same, basically the same. In terms of, we don't talk about those things.
Exactly.
And I think that's one tie to where we've travelled to in the world. A lot of us have gone to European countries, we've gone to first world countries in order to help our families to move forward. But and I don't think we necessarily thought about
definitely
the things that come with that in terms of the mental side of things. So my personal overall thoughts on the episode itself was as I said before, I have family members that have dealt with autism and different mental illnesses, and what stood out to me was her level of intelligence in how she's learnt the system and how she's been able to bring that forward, as well as the difficulty she's actually dealt with. But what stood out to me was just her will and her staying power. Of course, she's a mother, so that's natural.
Definitely.
But you can see that she's had to learn the system as well as going through these issues at the same time. So it's almost like she's had a double experience with it. But
it's like she had to learn on as well as experiencing at the same time. So whilst experiencing and through that journey, she had to then do her own research and learn as she went. I just remember one of the clips where she was saying that she agreed to something that she had no clue about, and we've seen how detrimental that could be. When we look at, for instance, this is a completely different topic, but for instance, if you look at what happens here as well, where people have been stopped and searched by the police and not known their rights. So it's it's so detrimental when you don't know the or you don't know what sort of rules and how things that can protect you, what laws and regulations are put in place to protect you. And I feel like that's an amazing thing that she highlighted, and for many of us to take on board, is actually when you're experiencing something, especially something as very sensitive and very what's that word? It's completely gone out of my head. Just complex the health system, especially particularly in this country, to know what your rights are, to know how to maneuver within that system. It's so essential, because it can save you situations like that. And I'd
add to that as well too, because obviously bringing up the point of the whole stop and search side of things. Again, what I think is good about this platform is that we're going to be able to break down some of the key differences between what mental illness actually is and mental health, but how they can equally affects an individual
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because I think with mental illness, it becomes a lot more about the family unit and the setup. It may affect a lot of family members that end up having to take care of you over a long period of time, whereas mental health is a little bit more, I think, independent. And it can kind of be about what gets thrown onto you as an individual as opposed to a family member or something like that. But overall, I think what stands out to me from the conversation was just, like you just mentioned, people have to learn the system whilst also going through the system. So I think that what was crazy was just that how she's had to kind of jump through all of these different hoops in order to kind of
put in all the different hats, like be a practitioner, like be a mother. You know, she had to being an educator, because I'm sure at some point she's probably had to explain this to her family, and to get the help that she needed as well. It's a long journey, and that's why I said I really do appreciate her coming on board to share these stories. And you know, very much this space, I want it to be very much about that, have people feeling comfortable enough to come in and share certain personal stories, because you never know who that could motivate, inspire, or even just educate so that they can step away from making a poor decision or bad decision. So again, one thing that stood out to me, what you just mentioned, was the stop and search. Sometimes we can know the law, but we don't know when to actually enforce or enact it. Absolutely.
Because in those environments, I'm sure it wasn't completely a case, I don't think, of like her not knowing everything. I'm sure she would have done her homework and researched. However, when you're in the environment, when emotions are
high and
reaction to situations, that's where I think we have a bit of an issue, and it's something, you know, it's an area for improvement. I think with us as individuals and as the community, is we can know information, but knowing the information and implementing the actual right thing to do at the right time, that's the real key. Same thing if you get stopped and searched. If you know, hey, this is how I should be, and this is what I should be doing, you're fine. But if you're not, people can they can take advantage of
they can take advantage, absolutely.
Some people will. You know what I mean? So in terms of the overall story, it was just, in general, it was just quite incredible to hear about the different stages that she went through to kind of get to where she's at. But you know, if I was to highlight, let's say, a positive point, one thing that did stand out was the essence of people. You know, like the one positive that she mentioned in the episode was, you know, some of the people she'd met through the social care system, the social workers, of course not all of them, but you know, she did talk to me a lot about how there were some key individuals who really helped you know, make her life a little bit easier, and also just make her feel a little bit more at ease when she's actually going through these things. So I think that's important as well.
Definitely. And I think that's like, it's perfectly how you brought that in, because it directly links in with what we're doing here, you know, having these conversations, and I think that's essentially what she went through, is having those conversations with those people that she came in contact with, that helped her sort of like keep her mind open and keep her going, like persevere, continue to fight for her situation and her son. So I think it just shows the importance of people sharing knowledge and helping each other out and really connecting, advising, giving advice with one another. So that's why I think this platform is really important, because now that she come on here, shared her story, there will be millions, like she mentioned, that are probably that are going through the same thing right now as we speak, you know. Literally. And these conversations, obviously, hopefully they go as wide as, you know, as they can go, so they could reach to those people like that and connect in some way and take something out of her journey that they can then use to help themselves in their journey. So absolutely, I think the connecting of different people that she came through and just who advised her, who helped her, is definitely really inspiring, and just shows that, you know, there are others that are willing to help, willing to, like, you know, give you that advice, give you the knowledge, give you the extra support that you need to get things right. And
I'd say that they're those individuals, I call them unsung heroes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because a lot of the work that they do is unnoticed.
Yeah,
it's behind closed
they're the
doors.
people that you just walk past, but they're actually without that step you would have never got into the next stage, kind of thing. And you're right, they're like brushed to the side, and you don't really, they're kind of forgotten, like you said. 100%.
I mean, a great example, I mean, I've got a good, very, very close friend of mine now, and he's almost like a brother to me. And his mother worked in, mental health system and the care support system for years. I think she's still in the system. She's worked with autistic children, she's worked with mentally handicapped adults, disabled adults, all sorts. And you see it. I bump into her all the time when I'm in and around Slough. And it's quite crazy to think that you walk past individuals like her, not knowing how much value that she actually brings to the environment, how much stress relief she brings to individuals, for the families, that they can get a bit of respite and things like that. And that's one thing I know has severely decreased. And I think particularly in our area, I can't speak on other areas in the country, but definitely here I'll do my homework on that. But for the Slough area particularly, I do know that access for support for people that are mentally handicapped, that deal with autism and all these different things, a lot of the fundings and a lot of the support has kind of dried up in some key areas. So
100%.
I think what this is really about is not really like going in and having to feel like we're deciphering the code. We're not really reinventing the wheel here. If anything, we're just spreading a little bit more awareness and a sense of importance for how these things really are. But I know from yourself, coming from a female's perspective, there's a sense of sensitivity and probably a lack of probably confidence going into certain arenas that perhaps are probably more stringent, a little bit more strict in how they operate, for you to feel like, okay, is this a safe space for me to actually share my story, or am I going to be shot down or ridiculed? You know what I'm saying?
100%. I think it's, in a way, I mean, obviously, I think there's difficulties from both ends. I think there are certain topics, like within the mental health realm, that women might be more open. Like, we all know, like, well, most people are aware that the highest rates of suicide recently, I think, right now current, are actually for males. So that shows that more women are actually talking and discussing mental health compared to men. Even though, like, you're right, Thea, there are certain arenas that women might feel a little bit less comfortable to speak out and open up in, but then actually it's vice versa for men as well. There are certain topic areas that men don't feel comfortable in speaking out, like
sexual abuse,
exactly. Domestic abuse, we've seen the trial with what's his name, why have I forgotten his name?
Who are you thinking about? Music?
He's Johnny, exactly, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Like, we've seen that, where the roles have switched, and we've seen it from a male's perspective of how
it can actually
happen, where there are men out there that go through that as well, not just women, so I think it's vice versa from each side. There are certain topics that are very taboo, and women may feel uncomfortable to talk about them, but there's also other topics that men also feel comfortable, and I think it's just about that encouragement and raising awareness like we're doing right now, to speak about and say, actually, it happens on both ends. And sometimes when that conversation is opened up, it makes everyone just on the same kind of plate and feel safe. It creates a safe space to be like, actually, it's happening not just to men, it's happening to females and other people as well, aside from like what I'm going through. Like, others actually have gone through this too, and it creates that safe space for people to feel safe enough and brave enough to speak about it, because these things can be very difficult to talk about.
Very true, very true. I think it's you're dropping a pebble in the ocean essentially, and you're hoping for those ripples to affect positively.
Exactly.
It may create some waves somewhere in another island down the line, but I think that this space really and truthfully is just As I said, this is the first entry of me and Hali getting to sit down, but hopefully you're going to see a lot more of these quick fire episodes where we kind of sit down, especially after we've had a featured guest come on, where we can get to highlight, you know, the first 5 episodes of Minds and Emotions were essentially kind of setting the foundation. I wanted to kind of speak about things from my personal perspective, which is obviously just a mental health perspective, of course, not mental illness. And just to get to showcase it, if I'm willing to speak about certain things about my personal situation, maybe it makes the next individual feel a bit more comfortable to speak about it, because I don't think it's healthy to ignore it. And I think that the more that you do that, it kind of compounds, and then at a certain point in life it's probably going to hit you even harder. So I think it's healthy to have these conversations, these dialogues, even if it's just kind of getting things off your chest. We really advocate for the importance of, you know, getting therapy or support if you do need it.
Talking to people, you know, if you have access and feel comfortable enough to the people around you, like opening up to them. And it's going to be varying from people to people. Like, some people feel comfortable talking to people that they don't know about, so they're not in that situation, you know. And some people might feel comfortable opening up to people that they connect and already know, like, very well, probably. So like family members and friends. And it's
agreed.
just
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as I said, guys, this is an opportunity to spread awareness, and, you know, we're not scientists, we're not professionals or specialists
experts.
in any of course not. We're just regular people.
Like we're also learning as we go. Like that's one thing I took out of that episode with Leo, is that I got to learn so much. Like, even as like Theo mentioned, I have worked in some of those fields, you know, where I got to work with people that had a learning disability, elderly that suffered from mental illness. You know, I've got to work in those areas, but even that opened up it gave me a lot of knowledge about how, like, those like the decision making behind the scenes that take place within those fields. So like, I think that's a good thing. That's another thing to take out of these episodes. It's just like the immense amount of knowledge that you get to acquire from hearing people's like stories,
their personal
accounts and stuff. You get to learn a lot. Like I learned a lot. I don't know about you, Thea, but I learned so much from that episode.
I learned so much. And I mean, like, I learned a lot when I was even researching before to sit down with Leo, but even more, it was like the researching kind of went out the window, because I had a whole bunch of things to kind of add in it and say, but then I realised that, again, this is not really about what I've learned or seen online. This is about what the individual's going through. So it's kind of like allowing them the voice to share a particular story that other people may misconstrue. And that's one thing I said to her. I said that a lot of people may take a message and they'll try to change it that fits what their audience is interested in trying to sell, which is understandable, especially if it's a for-profit business.
Definitely.
But if we're talking about spreading awareness of mental health, mental illnesses, I think it's important that message is as raw as it can be.
Definitely.
Of course, based upon the audience. So
because other people's experiences are going to be that raw. There's not going to be any like sugarcoating in that. They're going to go through that experience very like raw, and they're going to feel every single impact and effects and symptoms and all of that. So like, it's nice when we do get at least more of that realness than you know, so people could actually learn and take the most out of it. Because when people experience these, they're going to experience it without any of the, you know, the social media, all of that stuff that comes along with it nowadays. So it's nice to just hear a raw and real story. Agreed. I mean, like I said, for me personally, as I said, that's why I said at the beginning, and, you know, a big thank you to Leo for obviously coming on board to share that personal account. And for this specifically, you know, it's just great to have yourself on board to have somebody who can bounce energy off of, have a co-host on the show, somebody who's equally as passionate. And we hopefully this will be a space really for the spreading of that awareness, whether it's little things that we learn along the way, bits of information we can then pass along, because I know Leo's passed some things on to me in terms of different groups, organizations that are actually trying to do some good things. I think just compiling that into some bite-sized, clear-cut information that people can tap into. If they're dealing with these issues, they can find out, okay, these are some of the places I can go, this is the help I can get, and then
but then also just respecting the reality of each person's individual story.
Yeah.
So you're not just kind of throwing them into one big pile of people, like, oh, you know, all the autistic people over there, all of the mentally ill people there, all of the, you know.
And that's what like that I really enjoyed. Another aspect that I really enjoyed is that you know, when she was like talking about her story, she mentioned all of these different dimensions. You know, she mentioned about neurological and learning development disorders, and she talked about mental health, and you realize how big these concepts. It's just it's a massive field, and there's so much going on. And I think that's what this, again, the podcast like this will highlight, is that people go through different things, and it all fits in under this massive umbrella called health and illness, and there's different categories, and it's very important to make sure that people understand each of those, because they're all equally as important, and they're all equally affect people in different ways, but they're still affecting people. So it's important to actually highlight those different things that impact people, and hopefully like this podcast will be able to highlight some of that, and we'll be able to go into more like depth with what they mean, how people can get help, who to reach out to, how to maneuver within those organizations or like institutions and stuff. So
no, agreed. I mean, I believe this is the beginning of a conversation about spreading awareness for, you know, mental health, mental illness, and what I like about it is it's not just a research online, find a few websites, and you know, that only really helps the individuals who seek out the information. But I think in this particular case, it's more about the educational side as well. It's showcasing that you don't have to necessarily be going through these things, because who knows, at some point in the future, if you have a family member or a friend or somebody ends up dealing with these things, you know, you're maybe not coming in blind, or at least you know people or places that you can go to where it doesn't just sit on a computer screen or on a website as just information. Like, these are real people's lives, and they're, you know, real stories that actually affect people. So I think it's important to not conflate conceptual with reality.
Definitely.
You know, like there are certain people that are dealing with the ideas of some of these things, and then there are people that are terminally stuck with these things for life.
They're experiencing it in real life.
That's it. Real time. So as I said, guys, it's going to be more of a bite-sized, clean-cut breakdowns of where we can kind of just come on board together and to share our personal experiences of whatever we may know or may not know, and just to have the sensitivity and the willingness to be able to share some of these stories, I think is healthy in general. But I think it's honourable. I think it's important to step outside of your own shoes once in a while. Recognise that you know there are a lot of people going through some stuff that you know we will maybe never understand, but at least we could try to. And then, you know, others who are out there who actually do deal with it, you know, they can feel like, hey, you know, my voice is being heard. I'm not being overshadowed or overlooked. And there are people who may not even look like me, but they also care as well. So that's kind of really the focus of what I think this channel is going to be, in terms of being Mind to Emotions. It's kind of focused on those mental aspects of life, and then turning that into something that's actionable. And obviously this is a form of action. It's not the action, but
it's one of the many forms that that we can take on. It's the beginning of a conversation.
So I'm very pleased to have Hali on board and as a co-host, so expect to see her a lot more on episodes. And hopefully we're going to be getting some other guests to come on to the show from different backgrounds. You know, there's no essential limit to who we're willing to talk to, but I just think it just needs to resonate with this type of this theme of mental health, mental illnesses, and to get people to share those stories.
No, I'm really like happy to be, especially at this time as well. And you know, what a better time than to join, you know, at such a like perfect moment as well, with it being Mental Health Week in the UK here. So
that's true.
Just a great time. You know,
timing's everything, isn't it?
Like,
everything happens for a reason.
I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, oh, actually, it's actually Mental Health Week. You know, so
that's so true.
No, it's really exciting, and I'm like really excited to just like be part of these conversations and and learn.
Yeah.
And like just hearing people's stories and platforming their real life experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, with that being said, guys, I mean, we always like to keep these brief and to the point, so that we're not, we don't want to get too long-winded and things. As I said, if you get a chance, please go back and watch that latest episode of Leo. There's a lot to learn in there. And stay tuned, because there should be a lot more coming with obviously myself and Hali, but other featured guests as well. And what I will make a habit of doing is, in each episode, probably one of these ones that we review, putting in some key bits of information, websites, links, description, in terms of where you can get more professional advice. As I said, we're just offering our shared opinions on how some of these things are based off of our own life experiences, but there are professionals out there that can actually guide you in a better direction. So this is really a connecting point to them. And we're all about bridging gaps. As I said, if we can help people get to the places that they need to, that's really the goal. And then, as I said, we've tried to add what we can to it, and do our best to be able to, affect change in a positive way. I think that's a start at the very least. So I'm very grateful to have you on board.
I'm really excited to be here. So thank you.
Very welcome. But yeah, guys, go and please go and check out that episode of Leo.
Definitely.
An amazing story.
Very inspiring.
About a mother who's dealing with 2 autistic sons, or had 2 autistic sons growing up, and had to go through a whole ton of situations, if you could say. So also keep a lookout in the descriptions. I'll add in little bits of information, where to find Leo, information on autism awareness, and all sorts of different things like that. And as we get deeper into these conversations and episodes, probably going to get a lot more of that information.
Reach out to us if you are a person that also wants to share your story on this platform. If you've experienced a certain situation or have knowledge to share with people, then get in touch.
Please do.
Would love to get across to as many people from different backgrounds. And
100%. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying blessed, and if you do have something that you're going through, feel free to talk about it with close family, friends, family members themselves. And if you do need to seek out advice or professional support, don't be afraid to do that, because there's nothing weak in that whatsoever. I think it's very important to pay attention to your mental health. And if you have got family members or close friends dealing with mental illness, then definitely seek out the professional advice, because there will be people out there that may be able to make your life just that little bit easier on a day-to-day. So can never really discredit that too. But other than that, very blessed to be sitting down with this lady, to be able to talk about more things going into the future, and look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.
See you in the next episode.
Peace and love.